A very good evening to each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us for the second panel session with a very interesting topic. So we are talking about positive parenting strategies for 7 to 12 years old. So my daughter will be going primary school next year, and we were just having a behind the scenes talk, and I realized that 7 to 12 years old is critical because prior to that, no formal education, they are mostly kept at home, right? But 7 to 12 years old is where we give them money, they go tuck shop, spend their money, or the bookshop or lend friends and never come back. So we were talking about it, and this is the structure that we need to set in place for them, the different conversations that we will be having with our kids, because once they go into teenage years is where we all know friends begin to take the priority. So if you have kids 7 to 12 years old, you will so thoroughly enjoy the conversations. And introducing first up each of our experts. I have Celine, who is our positive parenting coach. So she coaches families. So it's not just with the child or the parent, but it's together as a family unit. Life Dynamics, that's her company. We will be giving prizes at the end of today's session. So stay tuned and comment if you want the prizes. And then we have Ernest. Ernest is our master money coach. So obviously the topic is quite self-explanatory. And I think it's critical that we talk about money because when I grew up, right, my parents just gave me money and then we didn't really have much conversations about it. And yet isn't like the rest of our lives, right? We always, like, why are we working so hard in exchange for money? So I think setting the foundation about money topics is important. And then we have Johim, who is a consultant with birds and bees. I thought it was very interesting when I first got to know her because my parents never talked to me about sex. I had to go and figure it out by myself with my friends and guess the kind of advice I got, right? We are all peers. How much do we know? We are all comparing notes at I don't know which level, you know. So without further ado, I want us to get to know the tidbits, the expert tips that they will be sharing. So Celine, I want to ask you, right? In Singapore, we are so driven by academic excellence. How do we cope with academic excellence and positive parenting? How do you see these two coming together?
Okay, I think the way I look at it is actually positive parenting will be the very essence or very platform or foundation to help your child achieve academic excellence. Okay, there are many definitions to describe what is positive parenting. What I'm sharing is actually based on the University of Queensland's the Positive Parenting Program developed by Professor Matt Sanders. Positive parenting is actually an approach that can help children to develop well and also managing their behavior and emotional problem in a very constructive manner. So there are 5 key aspects in Positive Parenting Program under this framework. Number 1 is creating a safe and interesting environment where children can explore a lot of interesting activities to keep themselves busy and also involved in. And then the reason why I explain is that because at the end of me explaining the 5 aspects, you would know and understand why I say positive parenting is actually the foundation to achieve academic excellence. So the second key aspect will be having a positive learning environment where parents are available to help their kids to explore and also to help them in their learning. And number 3 is assertive discipline that can help the child to be responsible and also ultimately to develop self-control. Okay, and number 4 is having realistic expectation. Yeah, so expectation upon the child, knowing that they are actually different and they all learn at different space, so that we parents can be patient with them. And also, more importantly, is for all of us parents here to have realistic expectation of ourselves. Yeah, because sometimes we all want to be good parents. It's okay, you know, but if you want to be perfect parents, that's where frustration will come in, and also sometimes may lead to disappointment. And lastly is taking care of ourselves as parents, because we only can be available and be patient with our children when our own needs, like the needs for interaction, the needs for intimacy, and the needs for just be ourselves, just being me, our own me time. So if all these needs are being met, then we can be more patient and be available to help our children. So you can see the connection. If a children is raised under this kind of positive parenting framework, and I believe that the child will be generally very happy, have the healthy self-esteem, because it's not crushed like by very harsh discipline method, and also very confident in exploring the world around them. Isn't it the key to master knowledge and acquire knowledge in the learning world, right? Yeah.
I love what you're sharing, the 5 key points. I mean, it sounds like quite a lot, but like each of them is so centered. When you
Yeah.
talk about your fifth one, right, like it starts with me.
Yeah.
Because if I am not in a good space as a parent, no wonder I react to the kids, right? And then I'm literally an adult throwing my own tantrum. The kid is throwing a tantrum and I scream, no, yes, no, yes. Don't know who's the real kid, right?
Yeah.
And
Totally agree.
and like what you were sharing, your second point, when you talk about positive, like creating just a space, an
Positive
environment.
learning environment.
Yeah, what do you want to share? Like, what do you mean by positive learning environment?
Where parents, we are actually readily available. So for example, I'm sure like 7-year-old, when they just started primary one, they will have a lot of questions. Mommy, why this, why that, and why I can't do this now, or why later? Yeah, so whenever they have a questions, I think it's important for us to stop what we are doing and respond to them. If let's say we are really busy with what we are currently having, at least we respond like, sweetie, give me 2 minutes, let me finish what I'm having now, and I will get back to you. It's making ourselves available to them and always ready to help them in their learning, especially when they ask questions. Yeah.
I'm just directly applying what you just said to what I did yesterday. I'm guilty. Last night, my daughter came, asked me to sign. I'm like, I'm in the middle of something later. And then later, was after dinner, she had to remind me to sign her spelling again. So applying directly, I think like what you were sharing, we will never have it named. While I put them as experts, right? I think parenting is a whole process, it's a journey. And I think as we choose to start with a place of compassion for first ourselves, then we just keep learning. Like even me, with 5 kids, I'm learning from you. So to acknowledge, so I love the practicality in just, hey, not now. So I acknowledge that communication instead of ignore, right? Because then I model that in future interactions for them. Yeah. So no matter how busy we are, acknowledge them, look them in the eye and say, maybe not now, give me 5 minutes later, so they know when we will actually be coming back to them.
And do remember to go back to them. Because many kids are sharing with me, my mom's later never come. Okay, so when we say 2 minutes or 5 minutes, even think more than that, but remember to go back to them. It's like, yeah, sweetie, just now you were asking this, and I was busy with my work. Yeah, now we can talk about it. Yeah. Okay, that's important.
And it's very intentional because I
Yes.
remember in the beginning, my kids were always, hey, you said this, because kids have the best memory because our mind is so cluttered with so many things. Yes, no, they're very simple.
Yeah.
And then when they first, I remember when my first child reminded me, I got a little irritated, because I told you later already. But as I began to grow in my level of maturity, I realized that she was there supporting me in reminding me, and slowly I take on reminding myself. So if your kids first remind you, don't, just embrace that they are there, and that's an opportunity for us to meet them at their needs. Because there will come a point in teenage where we want them, they are like, later, see the pump.
Yeah, that's true.
So just to
Yes.
explain, by what you are saying, you get irritated. So you're teaching irritation to your kids already.
Yes.
So your kid just learned the first lesson. Irritating. So the next time you want me, I know how to irritate you.
Unconsciously, right? We
Yeah,
said that
unconsciously.
Yeah.
So, Ernest, why would you say money conversations are important?
Well, if money conversation is not important, then why is there a saying that, 讲钱伤感情? Yeah? So many people ask me, Ernest, you always have been talking about money. But does it ever affect you that it actually hurts somebody or somebody get into a trouble with you in your coaching session, this and that? I think it's exactly the opposite. The more you talk about it in good times, the lesser you will get into trouble. Most of us don't face the problem. And I can't blame parents, you out there, most of us wasn't exposed to money lessons when we were young. Our parents doesn't know how to teach us about money. They doesn't know how to share, don't talk about money. The school don't teach us about money. By the time we learn about money is when we get to work. And that's, I'm struggling for money. And money is always not enough. So by the time we face the problem and then we start talking about it, and that is where conversation don't seems to be good. And that's why I always tell people out there, parents, always have conversation regardless, every day. There is always that moment in your life at that point in time that you can raise this as a talking point about money. Yeah? Maybe like you just mentioned your kids going to school, right? Allowance, like now parents are all curious. How much allowance should I give? All right, so some kiasu parents or some anxious parents will start going to the school canteen, find out the school food, I make sure that my children don't starve, Then after that come back, I will decide, should I give them monthly? Should I give them weekly? Should I give them daily? All has pros and cons, parents, I assure you. You give them daily, sorry, they will spur the money because they think tomorrow I still got what? Mommy, daddy gonna bail me out. I'm gonna get my allowance anyway, right? So certain areas of money lessons, you want to set it forth as early as you can. In fact, by 7, kids are already doing quite a lot of things about money. Trust me. Okay, as young as 2 years old, they already knows about money. Parents like it, don't like it, you can come, I can test it out, and I can show you, I can prove it to you. As young as 2 years old, you already taught them about spending. The first money lessons out there, everyone, you taught your kid about spending. You can disagree with me and say, how can that be? The first money lesson I taught them was saving. I give them the piggy bank. Parents, correct or not? You give piggy bank. Yeah? How can it be unless you are wrong spending? I tell you. For the 24 years that I'm in this line as a financial practitioner, as a money coach, I've been asking and researching. Of all the money lessons, one lesson that I don't have to teach. Guess what? Spending.
It comes naturally.
It comes natural. But the hardest to teach is investment. Why? Because investment, that word doesn't appear at all in your family conversation. The only time it appears is investment is risky, investment is meant for the rich, all right? So it's not meant for us.
Yep.
So at the end, we all become working like a slave, where the rich know how to make money work harder, but we don't. So parents out there, I would think that, money conversation is very important, all right? That you want to start as young as possible. But if 2 years old, they already start have the understanding of spending that I don't have to teach. And you say, how can that be? How can I teach them? You brought them, you carry them, you go to Gai Gai, you go to the mama shop, then, you pay things. So that's how they learn spending, right? And back to teenage. Why are Singapore young adults getting bankruptcy due to credit cards? I can prove it to you. Because when they were young, as a little kid, 17, you were spending in the shopping mall to buy things with credit cards.
Yeah.
Correct?
All they see is just you tap.
Yeah, you
It
tap.
is done.
It's done.
Money,
Yeah. But when you do the payment,
They don't see that.
They will see back. They were sleeping.
True.
Right? So when they grow up, the first thing, somebody offered them a debit card.
Yes.
So say debit card, okay, debit card not so bad, but you must put money inside, then can spend. Inside no money cannot spend. So at least they still learn something, the value of money. But the moment they start to work only, you got 6 months salary, you can prove only, so the bank will come and offer you the credit cards.
Yep.
Oh, now I'm promoted now, ego very high. I'm like my daddy and mommy now. I got I can spend on cards. Daddy, mommy, let's go for dinner. I spend on cards. But when the bill comes, they didn't know there's such thing called a bill will come.
I so love what you're sharing, Ernest, because I think very often, right, parents, we unconsciously forget that our kids learn through modeling. right?
Yes.
Like all through, it's not what we say, it's what we do. And
Yes.
as they witness what we do, it doesn't matter what we say so much, right?
Mm.
Save money, save money, save money, but they see us spend, spend, spend. So what is the lesson that we're actually sharing with them? So I think Ernest will later share like the importance of habits. And I love the conversations that Ernest and Joe and even Celine will be helming, because these are topics that school doesn't teach us. Am I right? So Joe Him will be talking about the birds and bees. So a question I have among parents are, school will teach, right? I mean, all this sex education, and then we are awkward about this subject.
Yeah.
But really, how much does school teach? You know, so Joe?
Yeah, I think the concept that school will teach is like, the school can't afford to really have very small group, right? So it's always done in a big group. If you're lucky, it's in the class 30, 40. If you're not lucky, you're lecture theatre, 100, 200, right? Then it's like parents, we understand that, because there's so much focus on academic and all that. So we provide tuition, we teach our children one-to-one, all that. But the same with all these things, right? If you're a big lecture, 100, 200 students, even 30, 40, if the child has questions and the lecturer or the talk is not answering their question, then where can they go, right? And also, like you said, the modeling and all that, if they see that parents are very awkward, so all the more they feel like, oh, this is a very awkward topic, I cannot ask in a class of 30, 40, much less 100, 200. So they have a question, they cannot ask it, then the parent awkward, they awkward, then who do they ask? So it goes back to what Ernest said about, it's not a bad conversation to have, it only becomes bad when you run into trouble. When you let's say your teenage, your hormones
And
are
you have
raging.
statistics.
Yes, we did a survey with the help of a tertiary institution. They surveyed young people aged 17 to 25. So amongst 800 young people aged 17 to 25, 1 in 6 have experienced unwanted touching. So this kissing, touching, or sexual intercourse. So 1 in 6 young people have experienced it. That's like a very high number. And then so then correspondingly, if there's somebody who've experienced unwanted touching, there's a young person doing the unwanted touching. So you don't want your children in a position where you never talk about it, everybody's awkward, then suddenly they find themselves hormone raging, heart pumping, face to face with the love of their life at that age. Then what you do? Touch, not touch, kiss, not kiss. How do I know they want, don't want? Then suddenly you go too forward and it's like, hey, I didn't consent, you are guilty of something.
Yeah.
Or then all those like so awkward, I don't want, but I don't know how to say, then how? So, if you had these conversations, it's like, I really like what Ernest said about these conversations are not sunk-fencing. They don't destroy relationships until the point where you run into trouble and you haven't had these essential conversations. Yeah.
And I think the thing that is so pertinent about your topic is, once I've unknowingly consented, or there's that shame, there's that
It's not
guilt.
unknowingly consent, like,
Okay,
you didn't
but-
consent, but
You did consent, but it was like, you know.
interpreted it,
Yes.
misinterpreted as, no means okay. There's a lot of misconception that if you don't say anything, silence means consent. I mean, there's even a saying about it, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't really apply with anything to do with touch,
Yes.
right? If you don't consent, doesn't mean I can touch you, right? Because in law, that's molest, right? And touching without consent is molest, sex without consent is rape, right?
Yes.
So there's this very fine line, but because there's this English saying as well, it doesn't help that there's English saying silence means consent.
I so love what Joe is doing. So Joe is working with AWARE. So if what AWARE stands for, it's where women are sexually assaulted. So I think that's very important, because if the foundations are not in place, so like what you were sharing, so I'm going to, like when I was young, I was molested, so I think I was one of those multiple times, and I didn't have the voice, so nobody told me that it's not normal. I was left, right, with like, okay, maybe I asked for it. I shouldn't have put myself in that position. And maybe, so it's not just on bus, but in the library. And after a while, right, later on in life, it does impact my vision of guys, right? So that's one of the impact that comes with that. So I think the work that, Joe, you're doing about birds and bees, and even teaching our kids where is a touch good and where you can speak up, right? If you are not comfortable with a touch, actually does a lot in protecting them. Because if we don't have this kind of conversations with them,
Yeah, that's another reason why you don't leave it to school, because in school it only starts, the first so-called anything to do with sex education starts at primary 5, 11 years old. That's way too late. That's 11 years of being touched without the child consenting. Right, so I think we talked about this when we met earlier behind the scenes. It's like, if it's a young child, 4 years old, 5 years old, and then uncle, auntie, whatever, come and hug them, and they actually don't want to be touched, right? So then they feel like, if the mommy or daddy says, it's uncle, auntie, go give them a hug, go kiss them, then they feel like, I don't have a right to object to my physical self being touched. And then that extends to later years. It's like if somebody touches them without consent, it was like, maybe I deserve it. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe it's nothing. I should have consented, so it's okay. I even though I didn't consent, I should have consented, so it's okay. Right? So it's like you take away the child's right to decide what happens to something so fundamental as their physical body. Because so often you hear parents, it's very well-meaning and you don't want to embarrass the auntie or uncle or the grandparent or the relative. But sometimes it's like it's the message you're giving your child inadvertently, as you all mentioned, right? So what message are you sending your child? That you cannot say no to your physical self being touched.
It's very interesting when you put it, right? Let's say like for 7 to 12 years old, then how should, we parents actually teach our kids without making our friends like feeling awkward, like, when they want to give a hug to our child, saying goodbye.
I can share that experience. I'm a grandfather of 2, and my granddaughter is about 3 plus 4. So my daughter used to ask daughter, kiss, kiss. So they do mouth-to-mouth kiss,
Oh.
Then I find it, so loving. I say, can Gong Gong have? Then mommy say, no, this one only for mommy only. Gong Gong one cannot. So you cannot kiss boy. So I thought that is also another way of getting the message across. And I think it's even like 3.5 coming to 4. So I look at it, it's also a good conversation thinking about that. What about daddy? Cannot also. Daddy and mommy can like this.
That's actually what I do with my kids, where I tell them like me and my kids, but I tell them anyone else no. So I think to answer your question, Celine, the angle I come from, right, is really drawing boundaries. Where for me, I think in Asia, sometimes we so 爱面子, but you must say hello auntie, hello uncle as a respect to them. But I realize that if a child doesn't first experience respect, they are just doing the act without because if I don't have the experience of how it feels like to be respected, it will just be an act, and at best shallow. But if we choose to respect them, so for me, like I will, before I do things to my kids, right, I feel like kissing them, like my 3-year-old boy, I want to kiss him, I will ask him, because I want them to know that that's healthy. Can I kiss you? And sometimes they say no. And I'm all emotionally charged up and ready to smell their hair, their baby smell. And if they say no, I actually pull back and I say, okay. And I think in just that parenting style, I'm sending message that you decide what touch you're comfortable with. And for my kids, right, my girls, I actually tell them, so I actually practice with them, right? In the car, I'll be, if guys on the bus want to touch you, what you do? You slap them. and I remember, I didn't just tell them that, right? But I made them do it because given my experience, I realized I couldn't find my voice. In fact, I was just frozen, literally frozen. So I said, come, let's practice. So I remember it was a dining table. We were sitting down and I was like, okay, now, if let's say guy touch you, what do you say? Help, molest. I remember what struck me is my eldest daughter, help, molest. It's like she wasn't even comfortable with even shouting because we are taught to like behave. So then we don't even volume going up a bit also cannot. So it's not just the voice, but even the action. So there was once, and it's many examples. So I remember once in a car, if guys come and kiss you, what you do? You slap them. Come practice. So I made them practice, and guess who was the scapegoat? So by number 2, right, more adventurous, she came. Come, mommy, like, wow, really slap without holding back. Pia! Wow, that was so fun, mommy. Can we try again? So I know I know that extreme, but I think my heart, right, in my experiences, it does not have to be theirs. And if training them includes being slapped, I'd rather be slapped than they hold back. And then after, because I never told my parents, about all this molestation, because like what you said, if it's an awkward conversation, whatever happens to me, you think I would even want to broach it? Of course not. I would just like shame, guilt, and then my own thoughts and never ever share.
Yeah, because another way, if it's not so confrontational, if it's not an absolute stranger, if it's a relative, friend, whatever, neighbor, there are also ways you can teach them to be assertive without being aggressive. It'd be like, if somebody wants to come and hug you, right? You go, can I shake your hand instead, auntie? How are you, auntie? Then
You extend your
you
hand.
extend your hand. Then they're a bit like, oh, okay, shake hands.
Very good.
Or they can say, I'm not comfortable being hugged. Can I shake your hand instead? Things like that. So you then they also learn both tactfulness, social, but then also self-protection, right? Because I think, like you said, sometimes our culture is very difficult to be very in your face. Don't you be a bit smart about it. You remain polite, but then you also protect yourself. Yeah.
And since we are on this for parents, because parents are listening in, I think one of the best things that parents can do is really to stand behind our children. So, for example, one of the stories that I write in my book, my auntie, because the older generation, "Ayo, so cute!" That pinch my daughter's cheek, and then my daughter frowned, and then I look, and then so I'm going to tell you straight, right? I look at my auntie, and then she did it, and then I said, "Can you please stop?" "Ayo, but she really so cute." Then I look at my auntie, and I said, and I asked her direct, "How would you like it if I were to pinch your cheek?" Then the auntie got shocked. And then my heart also thumping, because we are taught to respect our elder, right? But I think, where do we draw the line between respect? Because I think respect is two ways. So, and then she's like, "But it's okay, what?" Then I say, "But if you look at the frown." So thank goodness, my auntie was mature enough to say, "Okay, you know what, Junior, if you don't like it, then I'll stop doing it." And I think in that moment, right, where I chose to just be very upfront, to talk about a subject that we are normally taught to, like respect authority, it began to just open that space where, I'm teaching my kids how to own their space, and as they experience being respected first, is where they can then begin to respect other people from the depths of their own experience.
True.
Yeah. So parents, stand behind your kids, and if you know that your kids are not happy, I think that's the balance between tech and yet supporting them, instead of just allowing people to do whatever they want, even if they are the authority. Because we talk about people in uniform and things like that. Yeah. So what are the messages we are sending?
I like the way actually Julie actually plan ahead, which is very important. Even in parenting, we plan ahead to reduce undesirable behavior or emotion outbursts outside. I think what she shared is really important. And sometimes, especially in Asian culture, we are taught like what Junior said, to be respectful to the elderly and all that. So come up with or plan with them or rehearse with them, role play with them, before you bring them to and not the slap lah. Bring them out before you bring them out to a social gathering, right? And teach them the alternative. When someone trying to hug you and you don't feel comfortable, you just stretch out your hand. I like that actually.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So I want to just move this forward. In today's time, we are so different from the yesteryears. Today we are living in a digital age where everything is accessible online. So if we are not teaching our kids, and our extended family is not, guess where they are finding their lessons, right? So my question to you, Celine, is how do you think parenting is different in today's times? And is there any common mistake you see that in terms of parents interacting with our kids?
I think nowadays parents have very little time to really talk about things with kids. Yeah, and also kids are actually learning a lot of things through YouTube. Okay, and parents actually have a lot of energy resources allocated to academic performance, which I believe we really need to do something about it. Yeah.
What do you mean?
In the midst of all our busyness, I think it's very important that we really intentionally create time to connect with our kids, to find out what they're exposing to, what they are watching and all that. Yeah, I could see that some parents are very readily give a device to toddler and also to their children, like especially 7 to 12, if they want some personal time. Let's say when we go out to the restaurants, what is the common scene that we see? Right? Yeah, and I think the digital device has become the magic tool or the magic nanny everywhere that we bring along. When we want to have a quiet meal, we just, okay, watch this, okay, we eat. Yeah, I think we need to be very mindful of what our kids are exposing to, and do be very cautious about actually this action of providing or giving the digital devices to the kids. Yeah.
I'm completely aligned with what you shared. So I mean, I want to talk about the dangers of the information that they have today that we didn't have, right? I remember once when I think then my 4-year-old daughter was just looking at the iPad and in the kitchen, and my husband happened to walk past, and he was like, "What?" And he just glanced, and he was like, "What are you looking at?" It was really a picture of Ariel and Jasmine, the two Disney princesses, kissing in the pool. Right? So the messages, so we would think, right, like Disney princesses, it's just cartoon.
Safe, yeah.
But the messages that are there, so my husband took it away from her nicely because she doesn't know, right? But what they are watching actually goes in. And then we began to talk to them about values, right? Because ultimately that's what will undergird. We will not be with them for the rest of their lives, right? But we can only best prepare them by giving them opportunities to learn, to as we spend time to teach them, to impart to them, and pray that they are as prepared as we can, set them up for success.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Yeah, I missed out the word values. Yeah, so I think a lot of time we do not intentionally teach values to our kids, while we are actually providing them with a device that allow them to access to the world so easily. Yeah.
That was shocking, when we saw it, and then he told me, I was like, wow, Disney princesses can kiss. I mean, it was just shocking because we didn't grow up in that era. When I didn't, and yet today is so different. So it's how we learn to, the digital age is here to stay, and how do we reinvent our parenting styles to stay relevant.
Right.
So I think not just values, but the other topic I want to touch on is habits, right? So Ernest, when we talk about habits, right, because habits are just unconscious, right? We do it without even knowing we're doing it. Like you wake up, you brush your teeth, right? Don't brush teeth, you feel a bit awkward, right?
Yeah.
So even money habits, I think we have so many habits. In fact, 60% of our lives is governed by habit. And that's our brain's way of just not having to work so much. If not, our computer up here will be so much more extended. So what are some positive money habits you can share with parents?
Well, children by the age of 7, most of the money habits already formed.
By the age of 7?
By the age of 7. If they are spenders, they are spenders. If they are saver,
really?
they are saver. Yeah? So by the time they go to teens, these habits will follow them. So why is it so difficult? For me, one of them, let's say, is teaching about cutting down your spending. Because if you want to be rich, I had to find that money to invest for you so that you get passive income. So in order to find that money, okay, I need to cut your spending. One of the ways. So a lot of people say, cut my spending. It's like literally getting a knife to slice them. So it's that habit that's really hardcore in them. No one ever taught me, and so why you come to me and tell me to cut spending? That's why nobody like financial planners. Because the first thing you come is to cut. Yeah? So that's where I found that as early as possible, we already don't know, earlier on we discussed children mimic from the parents. Parents, if your child is a spender, look around. Where is it coming from? Is it the father? Is it the mother? Or is it one of the guardians? Definitely must be from one of them. If it's a saver, okay. If it's not a giver, stingy person. So that's where, when we played the money game called the Money Junior board game, I always tell parents, I want you all beside. And you see your children behavior. Some children will hold the money like that, very tight.
The saver.
The saver,
Yeah, very tight. Another one will lay out the money, organize. Yeah, another one always giving one, always rescuing people. So the host habit you can see. As early as 7 years old, I'm allowing them to play the game. All right, game is anytime you teach very hard, but 7 years old you can play. I can literally see all their behaviors, where they come from. It
So
must
do
have
you
started.
Do you have any guidelines for parents? Because I think what you say, spend too much also no good. Save too much also become the Scrooge, right?
Yeah.
So where's that balance?
So that's where I come out, whatever I teach. So parents' feedback is very important. So that's why I do further research. That's where I come out the money adjust system, okay, for the kids, okay? And this is where I say, hey, parents, start, especially, yours, right, Jenny? Your kid going to primary school. Next year, you're giving them allowance, right?
Yes.
I'm not too sure how much you're going to give. Let's say hypothetically, I say $3
Okay.
because some parents told me the char siu rice costs about 160 one meal. The Milo packet maybe 50 cents, the small one they say. So I say, okay, that is 210. Okay, $3. 70% is for spending.
70%
Spending. Okay. $3, 70% like $2.10 for you to bring to school.
Okay.
20% is for saving. So 20% of $3, 60 cents. So put into here. The other one, 10%.
30 cents.
Yeah, that went to here. Why? A lot of parents teach saving. All right? And they give the money to you. Don't let your child bring the $3 to school.
Oh,
Never.
not the full $3.
No.
Oh, okay.
You know what? $3 go out, maybe nothing come back.
Yes.
That's true.
Just like your salary, right?
Yes.
Allowance is almost equivalent to your salary. If you don't pay yourself first, this one is called pay yourself first. If you don't pay yourself first, what you do? You pay everybody else. At the end of the month, you say, how come I got nothing left? Right? So we want to teach the first habit first. Children, you got to pay yourself first. Why Singapore is so successful?
CPF.
Thank to Lee Kuan Yew foresight. And a lot of countries today are following our CPF. Pay yourself first, but money must come in first.
Yes.
Yeah? So when you do that, parents say, okay, but parents forgotten about that giving
10%.
jar, the sharing jar. So that's why Singapore can be very successful, but I find it so sad that we, the government, has to come out and take law for parents to take your children to court to sue them for maintenance. Yeah, pocket money, right? Because we haven't been teaching this. So I thought that if we start teaching this, when we go older, if the kids don't come and bother us or not parents, they come and don't take money from us, very happy already. But wouldn't you be more happier if the kids can come back and give you some? And parents, if the kids ever come back and give you some money, please take. Some parents say, don't need lah, your life also very difficult. Don't need, keep.
I would take.
Yeah. Take.
Yes,
Okay?
yes,
Because
yes.
you never know these youngsters these days, they spend money like running tap. They have no value, they're not conscious about value of money. Take. Keep it. I know we already, I'm 60s, I don't spend a lot, You give me money for what? I need you to accompany me, that's all. Yeah? But keep.
Yes.
You never know the day will come. You need to help them.
Right.
So you are saving in directly for them. So this is where I decided that, hey, this money jar could be something for you. And like we all have discussed earlier, if children had 3 sets of money jars, adults, do you think you have or not? There's 6 money jars.
Well, adults is 6, huh?
Adult, of course, is 6 because more to do. All right, because this is where we find this talking point, right? Like so talking point, talking moment, teachable moments, allowance coming in, teach. Right? And just now we were talking outside, right? Like if your child now, I'm not saying if your child happen to go to a shopping mall and say, Mommy, I want this, and they keep on saying, I want this, and you say no, and then they just throw tantrum at the mall. How to stop this? To me, it's very simple. Darling, what you want? Oh, that one? Okay, I think your safe jar should have enough. You buy whatever you want. Once I reach home, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to empty your safe jar. Guess what's the answer?
Let me think about that.
No, don't touch my money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really, huh? That becomes suddenly my money. They've forgotten those are your money that you gave them. They also give it to me, it's mine already. So, see, they know how to differentiate, even as adults. Today, if your employer sponsor you for courses, you will say, yeah, I want to go. But the moment your employer say, hey, you got to co-pay a little bit, can I choose to go another time?
Maybe
I
not
love how you bring in that, you know, like even for our healthcare, there is that co-sharing because when we co-share, suddenly there's the responsibility that
Correct.
steps in,
Correct.
right? Compared to spending daddy's money.
Yeah.
And I realize how unconsciously I've done that with the kids where they actually now when we go out, I didn't realize that day I went to Dollar Value to buy something and then I only had credit cards, right? I pay my credit cards on time all the time, okay? But then because dollar value, you cannot use credit card. Then I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't bring my cash. Wow, my daughter, don't worry, I have. Then I'm like, really? I'm like, how come you're bringing money out? Because this is my money. And what I tell them is you can spend it any way you want, right? If you choose not to. And then she was like, okay. Yeah, so I get like, parents, as we choose to give them the opportunities to be responsible for their money and teach them, I think that's how we set them up for success in life.
Correct. Small little things like this. Every day in your life, there's always a teachable moment. If parents, you want to find opportunity, you want to find time to talk about it. Unfortunately, like what Shirley said, most parents are always focusing on academic.
Yeah.
Always on academic. But they've forgotten, I don't know, you might, I'm not saying education is not important, education is important, like I myself was not well educated, okay, but I was being set up to succeed because later part of my life, fortunately, I met quite a few mentors who taught me about money issues, business, entrepreneurship. Then, that is really life skills that never taught in schools. So that set me up, and then today I'm very successful this way. I look at it, parents, besides academic, you got to look into other part of life skills that our children need as they grow up, as they get into the society, where the school don't teach.
Yes, I think that's pertinent, and that's, as I listen to what you share, like what I hear very clearly from Celine is about relationship, right? Because if there's no relationship and we're just focused on academic excellence, the cause could be, I score you, I make you feel small, I criticize you, so that you'll be academically successful. But what happens to the relationship? And isn't like family unit really the core about the relationship, regardless of academic excellence? Because like what you said, whether study or not, probably that was the route to success in the past. But in today's digital age, hey, we got 7-year-old YouTuber, millionaire, like richer than all of us combined, So I think it's really being conscious about the different habits that we can have, instead of being so fixated on what the mainstream preaches. And even yours, like what are some, Joe, what are some teachable moments when, if we were to talk about not just sex, but respecting yourself as a person?
Yeah, I think maybe to draw analogies, like you have 3 savings jars, right? So we teach children, we're so focused on teaching them to say how to say no when you don't want, right? But are we also teaching them how to accept a no? Right? Because we're so focused. Then, we also talked about this. Sometimes the children have this sense of entitlement. The allowance becomes the entitlement, right? So it's like all their lives, the parents have said yes, yes, yes. Then when they suddenly get a no, right? What do you do about it, right? So then it doesn't help that, popular media, Hollywood, right? They make it into a romance when actually it's borderline stalker behavior, right? If someone say no already, you still keep chasing, you still like that. It's actually, sorry, that's not romantic. That's creepy. That's stalking, right? But then a lot of children, they're not taught to accept no. And also to go back to what Celine said about, this focus on academic, or what you said just now, you focus on academics so much, you scream, you yell, you whatever, and failure is seen as, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Rather than teaching them, how do you, like a phoenix, how do you rise out from the failure? So for a lot of people, right, when they receive a known relationship, it's like failure. Then that triggers everything like alarm bells. So I cannot fail, so I must achieve this. Instead of saying that, this one say no, then you try someone else, or you see what it is about you that's making people say no, and first and foremost you have to learn how to accept it, right? So that part is also not really present in the education that's given to our children, whether from school or from home. I think this fear of failure transcends so many levels, right? Not just academic, to life, to money, to relationships as well. But it's quite detrimental in many ways. Yeah.
I'm so in alignment with what you share, because I think what's our relationship with failure, right? And those are conversations that I have with my kids over dinner time, where because I think our relationship with failure is we set success on a pedestal, such that, you fail. And then what that unconsciously teaches our kid, and I'm sure in growth mindset, is, avoid failing at all costs, including being adventurous, being creative, being imaginative. So we would rather keep within our small box just to play safe, just to appear like I'm at the top of this game for math and I don't want to try anything else because it risks being seen as a failure. But what if we reinvent failure to mean opportunities for lessons, for teaching moments, for growth? Right? So I remember the first time I had this dinner conversation with my family. I was like, girls, today's topic is, how did you fail today? Then one of them looked at me, F-A-I-L or F-E-E-L? You know, like, and then my husband, why are you so negative today? And that's where I thought it was perfect. I was like, you know, a lot of us have like, as if failing has a negative relationship with failing. And that's why we avoid it, just like we're avoiding certain conversations, right? But it doesn't go away. It's always there, and the sooner we start building an empowering conversation, whether with money, with your body, with values, with with a growth mindset, is where we begin to set them up for success later in life. So yeah,
Which is, I totally agree with the junior, the growth mindset. Yeah, so the power of yet, you see. Yeah, so like, you do not know yet. Later, once you learn, and then you practice, and then you're able to do it. Yeah.
At age 36, I learned another word beside failure. Well, I'm taught, no, the word failure must be a cross. Is what I call,
Learning experience.
learning experience. Yes, we are in a serious. Yes, learning experience.
Yeah.
So I look at it and say, if you want to put it that way, parents, they can't find a better words, learning experience. What are your learning experience? Yeah, but then from there, you draw out the conversation, then you can talk about it. May it be sex, may it be relationship, may it be academic, may it be money. What is your learning experience? If you fail your business, why don't say fail? What is your learning experience? The more important part is your learning experience.
You are so right, because I mean, to be very frank, we'll be all sitting in darkness, candlelight, if Einstein didn't fail like what 9,999 times, right? But he was like seen as a dropout of school, right? Actually, he got expelled, He literally got expelled because he didn't fit into the mold of what the school system is. And why I share this, right, is, sometimes there are structures, and while our kids may not fit in, that is not a lost cause, right? Let's look at, the inventions that we are enjoying today. I believe that every child is unique, and every child develops at some stage in their lives. We talk about 11 multiple intelligences. School only measures 2, linguistic and mathematical, but there are 9 others. And the day we embrace them for who they are, because they already don't feel good, I remember when I used to go to school, I was number 2 from the bottom of the class. And we already know we don't feel good. Yeah, you win. So can you imagine, go home, peer pressure is already, you don't feel good. Go home, parents still tell you why you didn't do well. I mean, we all know, but when will we be parents who will be their best cheerleaders? Who will say, yes, I get, like what you said, the concept of yet, right? You don't understand this algebra yet. Maybe after 1 hour, you will understand it at a different depth. And maybe it will take another month for you to master it. Don't give up. Because when we focus our attention on the process instead of the end result, like do this so that you can get A, do this so that... I think the whole learning experience, the whole bonding and the relationship has a much richer depth, where our kids know that they are not just their grades, but they are loved for the uniqueness that they are, and that we have that capacity to truly listen to them.
That's what I learned to bring back my own 3 children and now my 2 grandchildren. I tell myself, every child that comes to this earth has a gift.
Yes.
It's a special gift that we parents need to explore and find out, rather than we insist it that way. So I thought, everyone has his unique. All right. If we can, they are not good at algebra, they must be good at something else. If they are not good at money, they may be good at something else. So be it, So bring it up and then try to talk it out. I don't. This is my personal life experience that I'm learning.
So question for you, right? What is one mindset shift that you can share with parents to stay relevant in today's digital age?
Singapore parents are always so busy, working. I mean, can't blame them. Standard of living is so high in Singapore. I can understand. But my advice, parents, you need to catch up. Because these days, the kids, they are learning a lot from the social media. There are a lot of things they learn that we don't even know that they have to learn all these things. Parents, give yourself a little bit of time, get involved. Get into the social media. Today, if you got no time to come for me money lessons, I mean, you are not taught in school, so how am I going to teach the kids? So if you can't teach the kids and then you send the kids to me, I teach the kids. But then when the kids go back, then parents say, oh no, wrong. And he doesn't know what I'm teaching, you're not aligned. So I tell parents, I don't know, you don't have to come to my workshop, you got to dress up, you got to take a train, all these things. Hey, 5 minutes before time, just turn on the computer. All right? And then from there, you learn things. So likewise, anything else out there today with digital age, you can start getting into the social media, download tons of information out there. If you don't, your kids is going to get smarter than you and come to a point, they are not going to listen to you. They say you're nagging because you are no longer adding content to your life and they find you boring. So parents, to keep up with your children, you got to, I'm keeping up with my grandchildren. I'm trying to find out what the school teach, why they do this, do that. So I'm trying to catch up with my time with my kids, my own children, that I lost time because I was too busy working, getting, money, buying food for the tables, But now that I say God had given me a second chance, that I got my 2 grandchildren, I better find times.
I got. So what I'm hearing, right, wisdom from a grandfather is literally staying relevant. And as we outsource, because I think this outsource generation, we are multitasking so much. Outsourcing, I think there's nothing wrong in that because we outsource to the experts, but at the same time be involved.
Yes.
So don't miss that missing link of being involved in what they're learning, because ultimately it's the home environment and culture that really makes the difference, right? I can, exactly what you say, they go and learn the money habits and then come back, but the parents still do a different habit. No wonder there's limited change, if not no change at all. Celine, any mindset shift?
I think for me, we are living in an age where information is easily available. What I would like parents to see is do not focus too much on content mastery in their kids, where you sign them up for a lot of courses to learn this and learn that, right? And what is more important for me is giving them the gift to learn or train up their learning abilities. It's like teaching them how to fish instead of like giving them fishes in this digital age where all the information just at the click of their finger. But they need to know how to use it, and at the same time is how to continuously learning for what they need to know. I think for our generation we are like need to go for a lifelong learning. I think for theirs is really forever learning. So I think equip them with the ability to learn and preserve the joy of learning in them. I think that will take them a very long way, because like whatever they need, they just learn and they enjoy the learning process.
I'm in total agreement with you. Actually, a bit unorthodox, right? But how I tell my kids, there's no need to memorize so much, because literally whatever you need, you go and ask Google, right? You would have the content just there at your fingertips. But the essential life skill that I talk to them about is how to connect the dots, right? So primarily with this information, how do you create or make sense of it so that it can become either a creative solution or it can empower someone or you can be a contribution? And the other life lesson that I teach them is how to even source, right? Because so often my generation, spoon fed lah, sit down, whatever teacher say, in, and then exam time, and then do I really understand? So recently my daughter was asking me, Sec 2, right? She was asking me some algebra, I can't remember. And she was like, Mom, how do you memorize all this across 20 years? And I was like, darling, I'll tell you the truth. Mommy didn't memorize. Mommy learned with understanding. And honestly, it takes a longest time to understand. I remember even the teacher was like, no need to understand, like you just memorize the formula can already. But I was like, but I want to understand. And even though it takes a longer time to understand, it stays with me because it's no more a memorizing, it's a deeper level of understanding. And once the roots are deeper, right, 20 years pass, I can still explain to her the why behind what she's learning instead of just the superficial content. So very critical life skills. A mindset,
Yeah, it's like not just learning, but also relationships, right? It's for life. We already said, like, parents nowadays are very stressed, they work so hard, but ultimately, what are you working hard for? You want to provide a better life for your children, right? It's kind of like the parable of the fisherman. Is like, I want to enjoy a good life, so I don't need to become a millionaire to enjoy a good life. You want to provide your children so that they can be happy. One easy way for them to be happy is to have a relationship with them, to start bonding with them, and then also to have conversations, right? To listen to their point of view. Because 7 to 12, they're already starting to have their own point of view. If you don't listen when they become teenage, right? Then they're not going to have the patience to explain to you, but like, oh, mom, you just don't get it, do you? Right? This big eye roll, right? Just don't get it, right? So at this age, 7 to 12, you need to start cultivating conversations, dialogues where you listen to them and you understand where they're coming from. Because I myself find that when I slow down and ask my children why, it's like, there's so much wisdom in our children nowadays, that they have their own point of view, and it's very valid, and it makes total sense for them in their position why they would think like that. So then you need to, how do you ensure your child has a good relationship as an adult? Well, you need to have a good relationship with the child now, because you're the child's first model. So lifelong learning in relationships and bonding as well. Yes.
I so love what you share, because what I'm hearing is really, I think the traditional school of thought is I'm the parent, so I know better, I'm your teacher. But Joe, what you really brought up is we can also humble ourselves to learn from our kids, to come into a conversation without my preconceived ideas of where it is supposed to go, but just to completely get their world for what it is, without correcting them and telling them how it should look. But I think that, right, opens a very safe space for real connection. Because I can imagine, like for me, right, why I didn't tell my mom a lot of stuff is every time I say something wrong, shouldn't, cannot, after a while don't talk long, because it's easier, right? Yeah, but so parents like to really get their world and not dictate how it should be, but get their world and accept them. The unconditional acceptance, and in teachable moments, like what you were saying, separately, begin to teach them habits, values. Okay, to sum up, I think it's been a very rich conversation. To sum up, what is one specific advice that that parents can do more of? Yeah, just one. If we talk about one specific action, Celine.
For me, I think make time, be very intentional in teaching your children the right mindset is very important. Yeah, so we know about growth mindset. They hear about it in school, but how to practice it at home? How you can catch the moment when you can add a yet to I can't do this now, mommy. I can't spell. Then you say yet, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so do more of that, and also be very intentional to cultivate a very resilient mindset. Like you may not know now, yet, and try 1 hour later. Okay, and then gradually they will be really tough, and also they will be really chill on what is coming their way in future.
I so love your example, because when you say don't know how to do yet, just by adding these words YET, it completely shifts from this moment, the destination, to an indefinite future. And I love when you were like, and then 1 hour we try again, like, so it's like, many opportunities for a replay, because so I think that's very very wise. Even in punishment, in the past, right, I used to like 1 whole day no computer, because angry, more reacting, right? But when I really got the concept of yet, I got that, okay, no computer for 2 hours. So that the time, right, I give them a new opportunity. Because can you imagine, you're grounded for 1 whole week, no pocket money for 1 month. Ayo! Then the redemption, right, the space, the new opportunity is so far away. The connection, the learning, it doesn't quite connect. But if the more, I'm not saying, but the more opportunities we give them for a new restart, I think it doesn't just show a generosity of heart, but it shows a maturity in the parents' ability to, hey, you know what, make all the mistakes, and you get a second chance. Let's start again. And yeah. So, yeah, very, very positive. Now I get why positive parenting.
Yeah, I think that's what children of this age group needed the most, because they are learning a lot from 7 to 12 years old. So we really need to be very patient, allow them to make mistakes and teach them the right mindset to face mistake and how to turn it into like what Ernest said, a learning experience every time, and then use that to create their own future. Yeah.
Wonderful. Ernest, what's one specific action?
Well, parents, home is always the safe environment to learn, the safest environment. If you don't make use of the home environment to teach, regardless it's money or sex or politics, or to talk about it, yeah.
Study sex or politics in
Yeah.
case you know.
If you let the children go outside to experiment it, to make all those learning mistakes, I think that will be very costly. So parents, be involved with them. Yeah, I will part with this as parents. I know you all want your children to be successful, but I want is your children to be money masters rather than be a money slave. So if you agree with me that you want to bring your children to be the next generation of money masters, parents, what about yourself? Because we all concluded children may make after you. So if you are a money slave, they will be a slave. So you got to start with you, parents. You got to start, be involved, participate, get into some courses, go to learn something about money that you miss out in schools or the school didn't teach you. Then you'll be the money masters. Then along the way, your children will be the future money masters. That's my advice.
So true. Even if we are not consciously teaching them, I think they will just copy our habits.
Yep.
And in just as we expand our knowledge, whether it's money or how to communicate about sex or even values, right? I think they will just follow. And that sets the very critical structure for their life later on.
Yes.
Yeah. So very, very, very pertinent. And Joe?
One quick tip would be, rather maybe try to focus at least some of the day on emotions, like how your child is feeling, because that's how they also learn emotional literacy, right? Which is so much about relationships and intimacy later on. It's like, so, when your child's having a bad day, just reflect back to them, like, oh, I see you, I see that you're quite upset now. Did you have a bad day? You want to tell me about your day? Or it looks like you're really struggling with this, and then you can throw in some growth mindset. It's like, oh, this must be really hard for you now. You can't do this yet. And I see that you're feeling frustrated. So by reading their emotion, they're also learning how to become more emotional literate, which is a very important skill for relationships. And also when somebody tells you no, you know that they mean no. If you kind of think, oh, they don't mean it, and you're reading the wrong signals, that also sets you up for a lot of difficulties later on outside the home, as Ernest mentioned. Yeah.
And I think, if I may add, is that parents 7 to 12 years old, they are the fun lot of kids. Make learning, make teaching fun, entertaining, all right, and be creative. All right, parents. I know parenting is a lot of hard work. Yeah, so that's where no choice. All right, you're gonna make it fun. I mean, 7 to 12 years old, they love fun, regardless of whichever the topic. You just have to think and be creative about it and make it entertaining.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when we choose to, like for me, when I choose to just throw away my adult persona and find a child, that's where we really connect.
Yeah.
And then it distresses me.
Correct.
And coming back to your point, Joe, I think emotional literacy is so pertinent because when I first knew my husband, his range of emotions is quite limited. And I think it's not just him, me included, okay? And even in Asia, where we are like, okay. Like most things are okay to every answer. And I'm like, God gave us an entire spectrum, right? From ecstasy all the way to depression even. And yet, instead of avoiding the difficult ones like depression and all, why not become a bit more masterful and accepting of the whole spectrum so that we are comfortable to relate with anyone across the whole spectrum compared to depressed, I don't know how to relate with her, cut her off. This one super happy, always so excited, cut off. Then in the end, and then that
with self.
Yes, and then left with me, myself, and then people act like that. Ayo, you don't know how to behave. Ayo, and instead of being judging, right?
Yeah.
I think the broader we increase our own ability for emotional freedom is where we give people around us, especially our kids, to do the same. Yeah, to explore that.
They also build an instinct, right? That they learn how to learn to trust their intuition in certain situations, whether this is safe for me or not safe for me. Right?
Yes.
Rather than my imperative is to be nice always. Then it's like, oh, this situation cannot be nice already. I need to keep myself safe.
Slap, right? Or shout. Yeah. Okay, so wonderful. So, in closing, for all you who are watching us live, we do have generous gifts from each of our experts. From Celine, we do have a free Neurolab diagnostic test. It's worth $480. Do you want to share anything about that?
Oh, that is actually a program that actually help to improve your learning abilities. Yeah.
Wow, can improve learning
Yes,
ability just by
yes,
doing
yeah,
the test.
yeah.
Then you know their strengths or what?
Yeah, so there will be a report churned out to show you where you are right now and then how else you can improve. Yeah.
Oh, sounds interesting. If you want that, key in test, T-E-S-T. She's giving away one free, which normally costs $480. Ernest Tan is giving away a free money board game.
Yeah, the money board game is something for you parents, so for you to really have time and bonding time in the family with your kids that teaches about money. In case you think that you run out of ideas, all right, don't know what to talk, well, everything inside here, the play cards, everything, will, as you play, you will realize there's a lot that you can talk about. You can spot those in their daily life. It took me 2 years to research, and that's where it come out. And yep, you can have this. All right. And for this next Saturday, I have a workshop that's for parents and kids called the Big Bad Wolf, where that's how I retweeted that the fairy tales of the Three Little Pigs into teachable moments of talking about money. And we are the only ones that know the secret of the Three Little Pigs, why they built on 3 different houses. Yeah, because nobody taught them, right? They always say they are lazy, one is lazy, one is hardworking. But we tweeted it that, it become a secret. And when anything with secret only, you will now the child, the secret, I want to know. And that's where they will come. But parents need to attend together with the child. Okay, that's where you learn a thing or two from there.
So I took this more to show, because something caught my eye. So it's share, spend, save, and earn. So I like how holistic this is, because typically we just come from spend money or save money, but you actually include the share component and the earn component.
Yes.
And allowance, I think.
Yes, what happened, money? The allowance they give them not enough. They keep on asking for more, then how?
So teach them how to earn, teach them to fish.
Yes. We got to teach them how to fish, rather than when we are gone, then the fishes are not there, then they say, oh my God.
Stop.
Yeah. So that's where
I don't know what to do.
This game is there's no game created for the age of 5 years old. Monopoly is there, but nothing about habits and money values. But this is created mainly just for that. Okay.
So,
from the books, from the money jar, then now I come to this, and of course, our parents will tell me that, Ernest, what about the teens? You've forgotten the teens. I think teens is the hardest right now. I don't know, I'm scratching my head. Even if I have the curriculum, parents always say, the teens begin to complain, I didn't want to come to your lesson. It's my mommy and daddy who dragged me here. Can I go home now? You don't tell my mommy, can I go home now? See, that's the hardest.
That's at a different level.
Yeah.
So if you want his money board game, just key in board game. It's worth $108. Yeah. And when Ernest was talking about the Big Bad Wolf, we will put the link in the post so that you will be able to look, because he has a session going on this next Saturday, not this Saturday, on the 24th. So normally it's $25, but for those who come through a Mum Space, it's going at $15. Yeah. So it will be in the link. How long is the session?
Well, 1.5 hours for the kids, okay, another half an hour for the parents.
So parents first or kids first?
Both must come together. Towards the end, parents, I'm giving you a lot of tips that I don't want the children to hear. So I'm going to release, because if the children learn all the tips I'm teaching you, the smart ones, they will come and bully you, So no. And
so this is online, right?
This is online,
Okay,
it's webinar, and I forgot to add, in case if you don't want to get the board game, or you can win the richest kids in the class, in the webinar class, okay? Earn this. They got a prize.
Okay, so he's giving a prize. So that's a prize and a prize and a prize. He's giving a prize if you attend that. So it's $15 when it normally will cost you $25. And for just click on the link in the post. And for Joe will be sharing about is giving $5 off. So the Birds and Bees webinar, the upcoming one,
5th of November.
5th of November.
Thursday evening.
Thursday, and it's for 3 sessions.
It's
Yeah.
3 consecutive sessions, so we'll have the link on the website, but you get $5 off. It's usually $15, so you pay $10 instead. And it's 1.5 hours, 3 consecutive sessions. So in November, it's on Thursday night, so it's 3 consecutive Thursday nights from 5th of November. December, we might try Saturday morning or maybe even weekday morning. So we try to vary the time so that very, very busy parents can find the time to fit their schedule. Yeah.
And if they miss session 2, will they be able to make up in
We make
December's
up
one?
the following one. We don't allow people to make up if you don't attend the first one.
Okay.
But
Makes
if you-
sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This introductory is everything. You miss it already, then how you come second session, you know. So we structure that you cannot miss the first one, but if you miss the second or third, you can make up the following month.
And what will parents be learning? How to have sex conversations? Or?
As this whole hour, I've talked so little about sex, right? Because in sex education, sex actually almost doesn't feature. It's a lot about relationships, emotional intelligence, how to say no, how to accept rejection, and then how to have conversation as parents. How do you get over your very ick and awkward feeling? Because if you have a conversation with your child when you're very awkward, like if you're awkward about money, the kids pick it up, right? Oh, you know, mommy and daddy are not good with money. Mommy and daddy are not good with sex. And then like you, they're like, we'll just not talk to them ever about this topic, right? So how do you practice getting over your awkwardness? And then sometimes it helps, you know, with your child. You need to rehearse with your child, but the parents themselves
Need to rehearse with the mirror.
Yes, so benefit from rehearsing. So during our workshop, it's very interactive. There's a lot of discussion, case study scenarios. So you get to think about things from different angles. You could hear from fellow parents, you know, what they do, and then it's you know, fellow learning, fellow teaching lah. Yeah.
That reminds me, when I tell my kids, I'm never your experienced parents. Every day I'm your new mom, daddy. Every day I'm new because I don't know what set of problem you're coming to me.
Yeah.
I have no experience. So please give me time to think, give me time to process, give me time to go and find out. So when they were teens, I tell you, being a daddy, sometimes I just don't have answers.
Yeah, I want to make a bit of correction for the Neural Lab diagnostic test. It's actually worth $900. Yeah, okay, it's not 480.
480 is something else.
Yeah, something else. Yeah, so the diagnostic one is $900. Yeah, so that will help you to identify where are you right now with certain learning abilities, and then there will be a report actually showing you how else and where you can improve further. Yeah.
So it's not just a test, but a consultation with you, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that they can use the report, right, practically. Yeah. So there you go, a very generous panel, a lot of wisdom and a lot of humility. So that's the one thing that I get, that at the end of it, as we model for our kids, let's continue to model the very values that we espouse. So if you know of friends who can benefit from this session, do invite them to register in the link, because they will be able to catch the replays even if they don't get the prizes for watching live. And we have another 2 days to this summit, where tomorrow we look at wealth, alternative income streams, how to stay relevant in this digital age. And we talk about health, where health is not just your physical, but your mental, your emotion, and your physical. So you have a blessed evening, and goodbye.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.